I'm a sucker for a silly protagonist who little by little becomes overwhelmed by his guilty consciousness. It's exactly what the show seems to be doing with Denji. Welcome back, Chainsaw Man fans. Episode 2 just dropped on Crunchyroll, so it's time to discuss Denji's introduction into the world of devil hunting. But unlike my episode 1 review, which you can find right up here, we're going to discuss this one in full spoilers as it's now available for everyone to watch. And this is a very different episode from the premiere in terms of pacing and in terms of tone. This episode slows things down and takes time to introduce the wider world that Denji is now a part of, establish new characters, and some immediate conflict, as well as the new goal for Denji. But it still carries a sense of unsettlingness that permeates throughout the entire episode, and a big part of that is Makima herself. I just love the design of this character and how uncomfortable she makes me feel. And again, I have never read the manga by Fujimoto, but the show seems to carry a lot of these paneling qualities where a ton of the shots, the way they are composed, convey so much of the power dynamic between Makima and Denji. I just love the way this character is designed. Her eyes are so intense. Those circles that she has in her pupil make her look like she's in constant hypnotizing mode, and that hypnotizing is certainly working on Denji. Her posture is so rigid as well, which contrasts the way she constantly sweet talks and is friendly and cordial towards Denji to an unsettling degree, really, in big part because she never blinks, and I love the shots composed by her as she's always in an upper position compared to Denji. He's always weak and hunched over. She's just aboard, standing there and being very commanding and precise with every word coming out of her mouth. She sees him and treats him as a dog. He is a tool for her to use as she deems fit. And apparently so is everyone else. We get the introduction of Aki, which is one of Denji's new partners. She talks the same way to him. And in fact, through this dialogue-heavy episode, we established that Denji is not the first human turned devil. In this episode, Denji and Aki encounter a fiend, which is a corpse that has been overtaken by a demon. And eventually you also meet Power, another character that I love her design. I love the little horns. I love the designs in her eyes. It just feels like Fujimoto has a lot of care when it comes to the designs of his characters, and a lot of that goes into the eyes, which is a key part of conveying the qualities and faults of her character, really the personality. And while Power is rowdy and intense, and she just goes for it as they encounter the sea cucumber devil, and she just immediately, boom, disposes of him. She is very bloodthirsty. I love this character immediately. But Makima is almost the opposite. She feels cold and relentless and like you shouldn't trust her. And that's what I'm feeling right now. Denji is exactly falling for that. He is falling for her sweet words and tones. The voice actress is doing an incredible job of being calm and soothing, but still conveying this quiet intensity where she holds all the power and she knows it. And there's nothing more scary than that. Even her POV, when presented, she never looks at Denji, which is a contrast because he's always looking at her or at her boobs, which we'll talk about in a bit. She never looks in Denji's direction. She never looks him in the eye as an equal unless she needs to look at him to tell him where the building is or guide him through how the public safety Devil Hunter Corporation works, and the introduction to Aki. And you can just tell Denji and Aki are going to become best friends immediately as they meet. Aki beats him up, spits on him, and Denji kicks him in the nuts multiple times, eventually coming up with the excuse that it was the nut demon, and I just burst out laughing. This episode has a ton of laughs that come from these two, so I cannot wait to have them together throughout more of this series, because they go on their first mission together, their first reconnaissance patrol out on the town, and they encounter this fiend, and Denji is very kind to him, just quickly slashing his head and it's done with, while Aki wants to be violent as can be to devils, as his entire family was killed by one. He wants to make them suffer, and we get this speech from Denji, which is basically all the shonen protagonist's motivation in every show we watch. But then turns out Denji just wanted to keep the porn magazine safe. It's just a fun subversion, and yet Pochita's words echo in his mind. So you can tell that Denji wants to play it cool. He doesn't want to care for anyone. He finds this new goal of, I want to touch boobs. And he's looking at Makima and now Power once she gets introduced. But you know he has a conscience. You know he has a moral compass that is weighing on him. Even Aki's words echo in his mind later on as he is on patrol with Power, and he now very much feels the way Aki felt through this episode, how much of a bum Denji is that dirties the entire table, making this disgusting toast with all these several jams, falls asleep on the toilet, takes an eternity to get a bath, and he's just a complete contrast to Denji in terms of personality. And now Power is so overwhelming to him, where he has to be the straight man and try to keep her under control. I just love this whole new dynamic, and I love that Makima introduces this notion of this unit being experimental. So it seems like they're all working secretly directly under her, where maybe nobody else in the corporation really knows what is going on, which is another reason not to trust Makima. Again, I haven't read the manga, so I don't know what's to come, but it seems to be pretty clear, very intentionally so, that they're establishing Makima as a dangerous presence on the show. Again, if you hold all the power and you know it, there's nothing more dangerous than that. So there's a quiet intensity through this entire episode, despite not much happening, but it's an important episode to establish everything and everyone that will come into Denji's life. I might prefer the hyper-violence carnage candy present in the premiere, but this is an episode that makes me more excited for what's to come. It's a very important connective tissue for the entire series, and it's important for the character development and establishing of relationships. I'm a sucker for a silly protagonist who little by little becomes overwhelmed by his guilty consciousness. It's exactly what this show seems to be doing with Denji, while at the same time presenting so many different character dynamics where Makima holds all the power over him, he sees himself as an equal to Aki and will not be bossed around, and then he holds all the power supposedly over Power herself, but doesn't really know how to control her yet. This episode offers a lot. But before I dive into my final thoughts on Chainsaw Man Episode 2, I need you to start the conversation about it in the comments below. Don't spoil anything if you've read the manga. Respect that I'm just watching the show itself. I'll maybe start it after Season 1 finishes. But if you're enjoying my Chainsaw Man reviews, let me know if you want to see more week to week, or if you just love movies and TV. This is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. So that's my take on this week's Chainsaw Man. I need to know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me in this Chainsaw Man reaction for someone who hasn't read the manga. Let me know what you make of the episodes down there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members for always supporting the channel. And until the next one, love each other and love the movies.